Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Nikodyz Plays Does War Review for MSF. It's a special one today. So this was a war against a member of our cluster, the Weapon X Eternals. And it was our off war, so yeah, we were doomed to fail, but we wanted to look at some of their attacks first. Alright, Pita Chip, what do you have here? Looks like you got a Mr. Free-to-Play Sinister 6 Doc Ock that scored you a win. It's funny that this Vulture, I'm gonna take a bold guess here. With Mr. Free-to-Play, I know he did it for Dark Dimension. I'm assuming that PETA did the same thing. And I'm telling you that his speed bar removal and slows are just enough to mess up the order that these team is supposed to work at, right? So if you think about it, if it's supposed to be like blinds and stuns, flip the buffs, extend everything, spread, right? But then you mess up the turn order a little bit, and then you have like her extend comes up before, like, you know what I mean? It just messes things up. So I'm guessing that's what happened. It kind of sucks for them on a punch down. It was a big hella too. But at the end of the day, the second problem is that only Hela and maybe Ghost Rider can do any damage. I'm not going to count on this Mortal to get a heal block to land, right? So you guys got to keep this in mind, especially with legendary characters like Doc Ock or Mr. Sinister, Emma, Kestrel, well, I was going to say Ultron, right? Silver, like, you need characters that can do enough damage to kill them, right? I got chat going on here while I'm doing this. I'm actually going back to Canada in August. That's the plan. All right. And so they tried again with a cleanup. Power Armor Ultron, which, you know, delicious war machine, right? That is really nice to see someone that big. I don't quite agree with the ISOs. I mean, the idea basically is that they're trying to get vulnerables for him. Fortifiers are fine because you do want to keep these two ladies alive. But the same situation arrives. I mean, he's got awesome moves. Like his special does pretty decent damage, all considering, but it's a little dated. His ult can do a ton of damage. He does a ton of damage. I also want to keep in mind that there's that weird bug going on right now with showing the power level, so something that's conflicting. But again, once it's spent, his basic is nothing. So they're not going to do enough damage to take him out. So on paper, it seems like Supernatural should be a counter for this team, and I'm sure that lots of you guys are like, oh, I do that all the time. But you got to keep in mind that, like, when you're dealing with these two characters, he's going to start with his ult, he's going to do his special. Yeah, 1 out of 5 chance to kill Doctor Strange seems low, but it happens. Right? He's going to cleanse everything on his first turn. She's going to use her ult. Yeah, it's not a good team to use. And I know you're trying to, you know, you don't want to waste a good team fighting them. But you also, like, you didn't accomplish anything. You didn't even cancel. This is a win for this team. This is a win. But, like, at what cost? I mean, like, I'm sure they could have just ran X-Men and they would have won. I mean, this is a pretty good She-Hulk Fantastic Four, all things considered, actually. Like, I'm sure that there's some asshole who has, like, a 800k She-Hulk Fantastic Four, but I haven't seen a big team like this. So it's neat to see this on defense, right? But it's like, you know, you use your Kestrel and your Phoenix. I don't know. I thought it was a little overkill myself, right? Moreover, like, why do you have Skirmisher? Like, I don't understand. I guess you're trying to feed her double taps, right? But it just really seems redundant. I almost feel like you could have just sent Kestrel with these two and then Namor or anyone else, right? You could have saved them for something else, or the other way around. All right, Pita Chip. Well, that's awkward. Look at all those blue ISOs too. But, you know, Doom, right, makes all the difference. Yeah, I had an embarrassing loss like that recently. Made me sad. And so they go again with a smaller team. Normally you can get good punch-ups on this team. And as far as ISO goes, this is all correct. And as far as team distribution, I mean, this is a delicious looking Shadowlands, right? Normally you get like lopsided with these two, but they're all well built up. But it just wasn't enough. So this one, I gotta say, like, it kind of surprised me. Because, I mean, first off, this X Factor is awesome. But, like, I was like, why did you bring only 4? I mean, okay, I know there's only 4 X Factor, but I mean, like you could have brought anyone as a 5th. I mentioned Namor already, right? Who works really good as a 5th. Or you could have brought Kingpin like God intended, right? Like, you don't know who to put on the 5th, put Kingpin. Mantis works well. Ultron, right? Like, it seemed a little shocking to me that happened. But then he did it again, and he won. So when I first saw this initially, see, I used to have a guy. He was a good friend of mine, and he used to clip these war review for me. He would take the attacks, and he would take 10. So he'd go through all of them and take 10 of the best ones to show. And I would show my live reaction on stream, right? So now I do them myself. I try to do them about a week later, so that way I still get some of that, oh yeah, like that. You get a more of a genuine reaction than something canned. But because we just went to war with these people, I had to do it quickly. And I remember the last one was like Mr. Burns laughing, like, why didn't you put a 5th? Like, ha 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 ha. And then I saw this one and I was like, Pika! Like, so yeah, good win. All right, Buttman. So Doc Ock on offense. I like to see that because it's neat. Normally he goes on defense because Medbay Barracks, so the health bonuses synergizes very well. They can be used offensively. It sucks that it didn't get anything done, but if you think about it here, I mean, like, as far as a vendor team goes, and I don't mean any disrespect to you, Buttman, but like, it's normally Hulk and Thor that you want to be the biggest, right? And in this case, well, you got big everyone else except for Hawk, so, you know, maybe put some love into him. I'd like to see that out of you. Healer is good. All these ISOs are good. Hey, Blur Grimes. I am filming for YouTube. Glad to have you here. But if you're going to use this team offensively, I might recommend to you to drop Rhino and put Green Goblin. He'll remove buffs from the enemy, and especially on a team like the Avengers, it'll make quite a bit of a difference. So the temptation is great to just throw Black Order at your problem and be done with it. That's not the case with Heroes for Hire. I think a couple wars ago we did see a win like that, and I saw something on the Reddit about it, right? But like, this team is designed to, they know you're gonna try that. They know it's tempting. It's like when, keep in mind, like when Mercenaries came out, right? The first thing we thought, well, use the Inhumans. They were the meta. You use the Inhumans and they don't win. They get tossed, right? So resist that urge. Unless you know what you are doing, resist that urge. Oh, and what do we have here? Mr. Free-to-Play's Unstoppable Sinister Six. ISOs are great. To start it off, punch down thinking this would be an easy win, and it was not. Mr. Free-to-Play racking up the wins. They go with an even bigger team, and it didn't work. And this one, I mean, okay, I'm trying to be nice here, guys, but I mean, like, this team here, you got, like, obviously a meta. Ghost is a meta. She's not the meta, right? But she's still, like, a character you need to respect, right? Phoenix, unless you're bringing a counter to neuter her, yeah, she is old, but she's still pretty powerful, right? So it's just something to keep in mind that, yes, I'm aware that there are certain, like, you know, you bring a Maw, right? I hope you don't split up your Black Order, right? But Maw is meant to counter her, or Kestrel will counter her, right? Invisible Woman is there to supplement him. And when you bring, literally, like, what is this, 2019? So this is like 2 years ago meta that you brought against, like, the newest character in the, well, one of the newest characters in the game. And these characters, it's like, I don't know what you were really expecting. Right? I know that you're probably looking for a good target to throw your almost 800k original X-Men against, but this was not the target. All right, see, this is more like it. Yeah, this is more like it. I mean, he didn't get the win, but that's not a detriment to this player. This is a tricky team to attack. That's why Mr. Free-to-Play uses it, but that's more something you should be using. But then we talk about this with cleanup all the time, gents. Even if you manage to kill this Ghost, these characters are all going to kill themselves. Yeah, you have this Punisher that is pretty big, But if he doesn't land those hits on her because she dodges, no one else is going to do enough damage to kill her. Or this Colossus. And he's got healer ISO too, so he's going to heal himself more than like the tiny damage that they're going to put out. And like, what is this? The Shadowlands Skilletary Defender mix? No, okay, these two have synergy together, and you know, she's homeless, so we put her together. Like, there's reasons for this team, right? But there's no reason to possibly think that this team is going to win against this on a cleanup. I understand that you don't want to waste a good, strong team, but this was a waste. Welcome back for another one. I didn't know what to say when I saw this one. I was like, I mean, okay, this Cyclops, I wouldn't necessarily say is useless. If he had his ult T4'd and decent stars in him, even without like a high gear, his ult could take out a couple of these people, and maybe it did. But you're basically relying on these two ladies to do all the damage here. And as much as Kestrel is awesome, you run into this situation where he's just gonna keep healing himself. So it probably was nearing timing out more than anything because they just couldn't do that damage. I suppose this could be a win if you like timed her special very carefully. And then what is this, the third symbiotes that we've seen against Mr. Free-to-Play's undefeatable team? I think that at this point, you know, your alliance mates, you guys should be like, guys, watch out for that team, right? They might not even be aware that there's been 5 attempts on this team. So Supernatural works pretty decently as a counter against Captain Marvel, but you run into a situation where she could kill him in one hit and then it's over. So I'm not going to predict that's what happened. The fact that they killed 3 of them, I'm guessing what happened is that she didn't kill them. They managed to kill the rest of them, and then she got her second ult, did that, and maybe killed somebody of importance, and then it was GG. So yeah, same thing we're talking about, guys. I mean, only one character is strong enough to do any damage to her. And this one, I was trying to figure out how this team lost. I would recommend to put Fortifier on her. She's gonna get like 2 attacks before she dies, so there's not really a point. The rest is fine for ISO. But yeah, same thing. I appreciate that you know, geared up these ladies who are gonna do all the damage, but like they're like half the size of Doc Ock, right? She's not gonna get that heal block on, and if she does, it's gonna last like the 1 turn, and then it's just gonna lose. So yeah, too bad, so sad. So you guys remember last video when I took that moment to personally thank Casino for that victory, because he gave people the impression that they could use symbiotes against Emma Marauders? If it doesn't work against Emma Marauders, why would it work against Emma Marauders with Doom? This one made a bit more sense, and it's a fairly decent punch down, so I can't really shame them for that, right? But I mean, come on. You know, that's like when they introduced Ultron, right? There was no real counter to him other than Ultron. I mean, I guess you could Sinister Six clone him or something, right? Doom, yeah, I get that there's already like Kestrel, like basically obsoleted him, right? He got power crept, but not by a character that already existed. So they're like, oh yeah, we have this awesome defense team. Like, oh, but it's defeatable by like somebody else that has already been in the game for like a year. No, it doesn't work like that. So I don't even know why this was attempted. Gosh, you know? Thanks, Roms. No, oh, okay, well, I'm glad they tried it again on Frank. Like the same, like, I don't know, did this alliance get all together and be like, oh yeah, use your symbiotes against their like Emma Marauder Doom team, that'll work. Oh, our hero. Okay, I remember why I showed this off. So yeah, this isn't anything legendary, but don't misunderstand me. You know, I like to toot my own horn when I can. Can't really hear because there's nothing exciting to show off. This isn't even a G13 one, which isn't a disrespect or detriment to this player at all. I just wanted to point out that right off the bat, I killed her, and I wouldn't say it was a close match, but it wasn't like a raffle stomp. Like they still killed it, they just kept focusing on my yo-yo, and she like never dodged. But I just wanted to show you guys that even a weaker hero for hire team is not something to disrespect. Yeah, they did a lot of damage. Even without Colleen, she basically just did like what she does right off the bat, and then she died, and yeah, they still did a ton of damage. All right, so this was interesting to me. You don't often see this lineup, right? Because he's not a bad 5th. He just doesn't really provide too much, but He used to be like one of the best drop-in characters, right? The heal block, the buff removal and such, right? We got 100k punch up with a fairly weak supernatural team, but a big, strong Hela. Yeah, something to keep in mind, gents. Oh, another one from our hero. So the point of this one, why I'm showing it off, this weak Taskmaster, this team was a joke. I could have punched up 100k on this one, no problem. And again, not to disrespect this player, right? When I call your team a joke, I just mean that, like, I appreciate that you got this big Merc Lieutenant. I'm assuming it was for Dark Dimension 3, right? But this team has no oomph. I basically did her ult, and like 3 of them were like half health. I did Kappa block on her, and he died from something. I don't even think he died on purpose. And then it was just GG. I just put it on auto and I won. Ah, BG. So at first I was like, oh, sweet, I'm a Marauders, right? And I'm like, what? So this player who I censored out, if you did this to trick people into thinking it was Emma Marauders, good for you. I love that kind of stuff. You know, like tanks, like that they use in the war, they have like, I don't know how well you can see my hand. I know you can see my fat face, right? But like in the back, that's where the engine is, right? And that's where like the arm is the weakest. So they always try to aim for the back. And the front has the strongest armor because that's where you're fighting. I always thought if I was a tank designer, I would put the engine in the front with the weak armor. That way when the enemy tries to do like the reach around, they're shooting at the strongest point in the armor. Like, why isn't this exploding? Like, I like that kind of strategy, you know, like mentally like mess with people's heads. So that's what you were trying to do here. I really appreciate it. Otherwise, I don't see what these two offer, this team. I don't know why Emma isn't here. Right? I don't know why Mystique isn't here. Mystique works really well with Sinister, right? She gets all the buffs that she gets, he spreads to everybody. So, but regardless, this is almost 200k punch up with none of these at G13 even. So, yeah, something to keep in mind. I thought I'd want to show you guys. Good job, BG. Ah, you used Mr. Free to Play's Unstoppable Sinister 6. And we got a nice solid win with Axemen. Yeah, your tricks won't work on us, Vulture. We have Axemen. Alright, Durr. So, upon looking at this, the first thing I thought is, Ultron, that seems a little overkill. But look at his health. Durr is a very solid player, so I will defend his honor. So if the health is like this and he's dead, that means it was a near win, which means that he used just enough power. And then if you look at it again, that's over 120k punch up. So in that regard, this is actually a very good use of Ultron. So thank you for this, Durr. Basically, you're hoping to manipulate it so that way they keep taking out Grenadier and Redface can just keep reviving him. That's the point, right? And you want him to tank the opening moves because, yeah, these characters, this is a very good mercenary team. If you don't have somebody to tank them and they take out Redface right off the bat, like, you're going to be screaming and swearing to yourself. In Ultron, you got the train rolling and, yeah, very good winder. All right, Commander Lala. So, yeah, these two are very built up, but these two aren't, which isn't an insult to you at all. But 200k punch up. Like, I'm aware that X Factor isn't a brand new team. These two are newer, but it's not like they just showed up. But I don't think a lot of you realize the power of the X Factor. Like 200k punch up on one of the best defense in the game. And this is a good Emma Marauder team. Yeah, we've seen 800k, 700k, whatever, right? But what I appreciate about, like, if you look at my Emma Marauder team, it's like G15, G15, and the rest are scum, right? This one, like, you know, the Strife is not easy to get through. Right, Sabretooth does quite a bit of damage. Mystique, you want her strong too for all her stuff. So like well balanced, well built, good ISOs. You watch a lot of Mr. Free to Play, I can see here. I prefer healer on her myself, but yeah, there's a use for that. But yeah, 200k punch up, awesome. All right, Roms, what do you have for us? Oof, yeah, I actually PM'd him to talk about this. So if you look at this number, this is like what, a 60k punch down. And so I messaged him about it. He was like, oh no, this was overkill. right? And I'm, you know, it was a punch down. I'm like, dude, the content creators are like, oh yeah, use Inhumanes and Silver Surfer and Kestrel for a 200k punch down, like, because there's not very many options aside from the new team that just came out, right? So doing a 60k punch down on the newest meta, yeah. Not to mention that these two are the only ones that he like went crazy building up. Not to disrespect him in any way. I just mean that, like, if he had to show up with 5 G15s, which you kind of need for the other teams, it's less exciting, but this shows that there's less resources put into it. Moreover, he uses these characters every single day in the raids, and he's using them to go through Dark Dimension 4. So, like, these are great value characters that are similar to, like, Phoenix, not for raids, but in the sense that their teams might be outdated, but she still has use. So in a year, you're still going to see these characters being used. Maybe not in arena, maybe not the best characters, blah, 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 right? But these are never going to be wasted investments. So I talked to him, and he said that it wasn't a punch down, the Stark Tech. Oh, yeah, thank you very much for that, Roms. Yeah, no, it was Stark Tech bug. Yeah, so that makes it even cooler. He said that he figured that he could do this without Silver Surfer, did you say? But needs some more practice with it. As of now, though, this worked out very well for him. All right, PETA gave me permission not to censor her name. Do you see the kind of thing that I'm talking about? That, like, half a year ago, if I was showing off a 240k punch down, it'd be like, like, you know, like, was it Defenders against Asgardians or something, right? But I mean, first off, the only one who died was Black Bolt. The rest of them stayed alive. Secondly, this was in security, and this is a 7R 7-star Kestrel. This is a very good win for you, Stocky. This is a very good win. But yeah, no, very good win. You can see here Roms is saying that without Kestrel, so he would drop Kestrel. Tried it out, but it didn't quite work, but with more practice, I'm sure he'll be able to show us something exciting. All right, and PETA Chip. This happened in our last war, where there's a bit of the story to it. This was in security, and she thought, okay, I'm gonna take out Kestrel and set it up for the next player. So she did that. She put it on auto. She set some targets, she said, and she got a win. So as you can see, again, this is a no Stark Tech bug. So yeah, Stark Tech bug. So it's hard to tell with the power, but goodness gracious that she was like, yeah, I'll just put a, you know, take out like Kestrel and set it up for the next person. That's a good use of resources these days, right? So if you guys recall back in the day when X-Men was on defense, you would try to take out Phoenix and then start it again. Or when Brotherhood was on defense, you would send just schmucks to eat an attack, and then you'd wipe them out. Like those double tapping, take out one member of the Black Order, and then go again. It's been a while since we've resorted to tactics like that. It's definitely a good one. So yeah, good win, PETA. Yeah, I guess some players are taking their Emma Marauders off defense to use against Heroes for Hire. I don't know, this is kind of like the videos you see with like the content creators where they're like, yeah, check this out, this is the new meta to defeat them, and it's like, this is a 400k punch down. It's like, yeah, but it works in theory. You can do this with punch across. Try with a punch across, get destroyed immediately, right? So when Rom sent me this, I was like, yeah, that's about right. Oh my. Well, we're gonna call it right there, but thank you very much everybody for watching. And if I had any Eternals in the crowd, I'd like to know what you think of my review on some of your attacks. It was an interesting war to say the least, and I hope you guys had as much fun as we did during that war. If you have any attacks that you'd like to show off, any epic punch-ups or any terrible fails on your opponent's part, feel free to join me on the Discord. I will leave a link down below in the description. Otherwise, I will see you next time. Thank you very much and good night.